Good morning. Good morning, student, or good day, rather. Good day, students. Thank you for attending Counseling and Career Development workshop in goal setting and time management. I will start by introducing myself, and then I will also introduce the colleagues that are with me, including the facilitator for the day. So let me switch on my camera so that you can see me. I hope you can all see me. Here am I. My name is Mangaliso again. I will be a program director for the day. And I would also like to introduce my colleagues. But before introducing my colleagues, I have a few announcements that I have to make. And then please note, students, that this is a live event. Therefore, I'm sure you have noticed that your mic and cameras are disabled. So you won't be able to unmute yourself. And however, feel free to use the Q&A to raise your suggestion or your questions, and then participate as well in this workshop as the presenter will be presenting. Feel free to post your questions to a Q&A session. If you look there on top of your screen, you can see Q&A. If you click there, it's where you'll be allowed to type the question that you might have regarding this presentation. So, and the presenter will attend to your question after the presentation. We will assist her with that. Once again, thank you so much for honoring our invite. And then I will introduce our colleagues. Let me start with Sanil Siwe. If you can maybe open your camera and introduce yourself. Samgel Siwe, Sanil Siwe, and Nokbonga and Dumelo, they are the ones who will be helping the presenter reading through your questions. Dumelo will also respond to some of your questions related to the presentation while the presenter is still busy with the presentation. Okay, you can go ahead, Nokbonga, and introduce yourself.
Greetings, students and colleagues. My name is Sanelisiwe Dunge. I am a trainee career guidance practitioner and I'm based in Pietermaritzburg.
Thank you, Sani. Nokbonga.
Greetings, students and staff. My name is Nokubonga Shange, a trainee career guidance practitioner based in Pietermaritzburg.
Thank you. Samgelisiwe Tusi, can you please introduce yourself? Samgelisiwe will be helping us with a technical support in case you have a challenge to see the presenter's slide or maybe to hear the presenter's presentation.
Good day, students. I'm Samgelisiwe Tusi, and I'll be your technical support. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Inga, can you introduce yourself, please?
Good day, students. My name is Inga Chekela. I'm a trainee career guidance practitioner based in Devon.
Thank you, Inga. I'm not sure whether we have Sponelo and Dumelo in our midst. Can you please, colleague, introduce yourself, because I can't see, as I am the producer for this event. My screen is different. Sponelo and Dumelo, can you please also introduce yourself?
Hey, thank you, Sma. Good afternoon, colleagues, and good afternoon, students. My name is Tumelo Mokwena. I'm a student counselor. I'm based in Pietermaritzburg office.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, clear. And,
Yes. Sorry, my camera is locked. I can't switch it off. Good day, colleagues. Good day, students. My name is Sibonelo Kumede. I'm the admin officer. However, today I will be assisting you with technical support. Thanks. Hope you enjoy the workshop.
Thank you, Sibonelo. And then well, without a waste of time, I will now allow our facilitator to introduce herself and also to start the business of the day. Over to you, Michelle.
Okay, good afternoon, students and colleagues. Hopefully you can see me. Just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Michelle Sharnik. I'm a student counselor here in the Durban office, and I'm going to be your facilitator today. I'm going to turn my camera off and then going to share, and we're going to get straight into the topic of today, which is your goal setting and time management. Okay, so goal setting and time management. This is a very important topic because it has just started. So as the Counselling and Career Development Unit, we want to equip you with the skills of strategies to manage your time, strategies to actually your goals and to meet those goals. So the objectives today is to learn a helpful strategy on how to set goals and develop a plan to actually achieve those goals. Learning how to plan and prioritize your time. I'm going to go through some strategies that helps you to do this, and then developing a personalized schedule. It's really important, especially if you're first year students, being at Unisa, being open distance learning, that you have to create these things for yourself now. You don't have a timetable that's created for you. And then learning how to manage your time as part of a self-care strategy. So how do you balance out your schedule so that you can have a balanced lifestyle? So let's get straight into it. In terms of goal settings, what are goals? Goals are the object or aim of your action, the reason that you are doing something. And if to put it another way, goals are your why. So I want you to think about, you are now studying at Unisa. What is your reason for studying at Unisa? What is your career goal? What do you want to achieve by studying at Unisa? Is it that you want to become a lawyer or an accountant or a teacher or a social worker? What is that career goal for you? And then goal setting is the process by which you then can achieve that goal. And that's the process we're going to engage in today. Conscious goals, so goals that you are aware of, affect our actions. And also our goals direct our behavior and regulate our behavior. So in order for us to actually have the of our goals affecting our action and our goals directing our behavior and creating our behavior as purposeful, we need to then set those goals. It's only then that we can have the benefit of the goals being purposeful and directing our behavior. So I want you to keep in mind, obviously I can't see you, you can't see me, but I want you to keep in mind as we go through this workshop, keep in mind, number one, your career goal, because we're going to break it down from there right to your weekly schedule. So why is it important to set goals? Goals setting a goal is a very powerful motivator. It actually can increase your motivation. So if you find you started the year off and you're not too motivated, setting a career goal, a semester goal is really going to boost that motivation and your commitment. It actually affects the intensity of our actions and our emotions. So when we have a goal that we really value, we actually put more effort into our actions in order to attain that goal. And then we experience more success following achieving that particular goal. When we experience more success and the positive emotions that actually come from success, we gain confidence. That confidence allows you to take on more tasks in your academic and career journey. The most important thing, though, is you have to value the goal. The only time it's going to serve, your goal is going to serve as a motivator, is if you value your goal. So it can't be a goal that somebody else has set for you. It can't be a goal that your parents have set for you or your gran has set for you. It has to be something that is valuable to you, and then it serves as motivation. So everything starts with a goal. So we're going to start at the point of defining goals today. Then we're going to look at how do we prioritize and organize our activities towards those goals. And then how do we plan our time for those activities and priorities? Our goals can only be reached through a vehicle of a plan. And that plan we need to act upon. As you can see the saying on the screen, there's no other way to success. So if you're wanting academic success by the end of the semester, we've got to go through these steps. You have to have a goal, you have to have a plan, and you have to plan your time. So this is just a reflection exercise. I don't know where you are sitting and listening to this workshop, but if you have a pen and a paper, I would suggest just write down as we reflect through each thing in order for you to start thinking about a semester goal. So you have a career goal in mind. For example, you want to become, let's say, an accountant or a teacher. Okay, so you have that in mind. We've got to break it down now into a shorter term goal. Okay, so think about, in terms of your goal, your semester goal, what are you aiming to achieve this semester? So have a think about that, write it down if you already have it in your mind. And then what is the second one? Is your intention. To ensure that you're working towards this goal every day, what are you intending to do every day? And then, does it fit? Does the semester goal fit with what your career goal is? Does it align with who you are or who you want to become? What are the sacrifices that you'd be willing to make? The things that you're willing to give up or avoid in your life to ensure that there are successes. Maybe you're willing to give up some screen time. Maybe you're willing to give up a little bit of sleep, maybe waking up early. What are the sacrifices that you're willing to make? Then what are the obstacles? You might be a first-year student. What are the obstacles and challenges that you are anticipating maybe you're going to are going to come up in order that might stop you from reaching your goal? Maybe it's learning the online platforms that we have. Maybe that's an obstacle. And then what is your response to that obstacle? What is it that you can do based on the information that you have? What is it that you can do? How can you problem solve around that obstacle? So this is just a basic reflection. I hope you've been able to write something down, or even if you haven't, just been able to think about these 6 things that I've mentioned, because now we're jumping straight into the strategy for setting goals. And the strategy that is well researched, well used in many areas of life, not just in academic, is called SMART goals. And SMART goals is used to help you guide your goal setting. Remember, we want to set that goal so we can then prioritize and then plan your time. So SMART is an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So your SMART goal incorporates all the criteria to help you focus and increase your chances of actually achieving your goal. So in terms of, some people, you will see, even if you have to research SMART goals, you will see that sometimes the acronyms are interchangeable. Some people say achievable, some people say actionable. I'll tell you why I like to use actionable, but let's start with the S. You have to be specific and clear. So something like, I'm going to try my best this semester. That's not a specific goal. It's too vague It's not going to help direct your behavior and your action. It's not even going to help direct your efforts in terms of your daily activities. So you have to be specific. So let's say you want to pass all your modules with at least 65%. That's a specific goal, all right? The next step is measurable. You need to be able to measure. How are you going to track that goal during the semester? How do you know that you're on track in terms of achieving your goal? Remember, if it's something you write down and you forget, it means you don't have a plan to achieve it. And this is part of the strategy, is it helps you develop a plan to achieve the goal. So think about markers in the semester that allow you to track your progress. Maybe you're going to track by your assignments, first assignment, second assignment, and then you can see, okay, how far am I from that? 65%, for example. Your next letter is A, which is actionable or achievable. Are you able to take action to achieve the goal? Is it within your control? We have to ensure that there are steps that you can take that's in your control to reach your goal. So what are those steps that you're going to take? And it's important to note those steps down. Maybe the steps are to check if you've got an e-tutor for a particular module, or if there's tutorials offered for that module. Maybe the step is if you've identified the obstacle as difficulty in navigating my Unisa, for example. Maybe the step is coming onto campus, going to the computer lab, speaking to the DLAs, getting them to assist you, getting them to help you understand the different online platforms and tools that you need to use. The next step is realistic. It has to be realistic. If you set a goal that is unrealistic, you are then going to cause yourself stress and frustration. And you might then feel overwhelmed. When you feel overwhelmed, you might decide that you're going to give up on that goal. So it has to be realistic. Is 65% something you've achieved before? Maybe yes, it is. Maybe you've achieved more than that. Then you understand, okay, this is a realistic goal for me because it's something that I've either achieved, excuse me, or been really close to achieving. And then lastly, the T is for time. You have to have a time frame because that helps you stay focused and motivated. It inspires you in terms of what you are actually working towards. So for example, your short-term goal is your semester goal. You have a time frame. This semester, by May, you're writing exams. So we in March, you've got March, April, May. May you into exams already. So you can measure now your assignments, you can note down your actionable steps that you are going to take, and then it's in this time frame of March and April that you need to take those steps. You can then make sure that in this time frame you are then progressing. Am I getting closer? Have I done better in my next assignment? So this is the strategy in terms of setting your short-term goal, which is your semester goal, from your career goal. And it's the strategy that puts a plan in place in terms of you reaching that goal. Okay, I hope that's clear for everyone. If there's a question, please just pop it in the chat as we go along, and then we'll answer all those questions at the end. Okay, so your career goal has to filter down into what you do every day. So you've got to have your career goal, you've got to have your semester goal, then you've got to have your daily activities. It has to line up and it has to relate. If it doesn't, then you tend to lose motivation. So let's reflect for just a minute. You have your career goal, you've got your semester goal. Now we're going to start looking at daily activities, planning, and scheduling. I really like this saying that says goals are dreams with deadlines, which means we have to have a plan, we have to have a time frame, we have to have a deadline. Other thing I wanted to just emphasize here is the reason why we've got to break it down is because it's always better to set short-term goals, because it actually, as you achieve, let's say, your daily goal that's related to your semester goal, it boosts your motivation, it boosts your confidence, and then you have more confidence to set goals and achieve goals. So we're moving on to time management. You have your career goal now, you have your semester goal and your plan in order to achieve your semester goal. Now we're going to break that down into what does that look like for your activities in the week? What does that look like even for activities in your day? So time management is a skill. It's not something we are born with. It's not something we naturally know how to do. It's something that every single one of us has to learn. And it's a skill for three reasons, really. It's a self-care skill. It allows you to balance things out in your life, which means it leads to less stress. It's an employability skill. Believe it or not, your employer wants to know by the time you exit this degree that you are prepared. You know how to manage your time. You know how to perform under pressure. You know how to avoid procrastination. You know how to establish priorities. You know how to deal with different tasks in your day, the different tasks that are there. So this is a fundamental employability skill that actually makes you ready for the job market. So the earlier you started, the more you customize it to yourself, the more prepared you are when you enter the world of work. And then lastly, it is a skill for success because it's part of the steps in helping you achieve your goals. So there are 5 P's of time management. We have to prioritize. Before we even look at our time that we have every day, we have to focus on what matters most. And with prioritizing, we are going to look at some strategies of how to prioritize, and I'm going to take you through that as well. The second P is planning. A plan then helps you allocate your time effectively and stay organized. We are going to look at a weekly schedule. We're going to look at to-do lists, how to have a to-do list that is prioritized. And then it's important that you set realistic deadlines when you plan your time in order to avoid procrastination and in order to avoid feeling overwhelmed. And then the next P is productivity. You have to make the most of your time. We're going to look at boosting your productivity. We're going to cover some techniques on time blocking and time boxing, looking at how to minimize distractions, taking regular breaks to maintain your mental sharpness and also to avoid burnouts. That's really important. We're going to look at one of the strategies that talks about how to even take breaks. And then you need patience. You need to be able to stay calm amid challenges. You've got to remind yourself that actually setbacks are a natural part of any process, even learning to manage your time well. And then avoid rushing through tasks. So having patience means focusing on the quality of your work, not only on the speed. And then lastly, under patience is embracing flexibility. Life does happen. Things come up. Your plan or your schedule cannot be inflexible. It needs to be flexible. You need to adjust your plan when necessary. The last P is persistence. You have to keep the momentum. Time management is a skill. So persistence ensures that you are staying consistent in your time management efforts. Success doesn't happen overnight, and sticking to your routine or your schedule, despite the difficulties that come up in life, is crucial. When you persist, you are more likely to achieve your goals and master time management. So even with time management, you have to keep that momentum going. If you have an off day or a day where you actually couldn't keep to your schedule, you couldn't keep to the time you allocated to go through your modules, that's okay. The next day you start again and you try and keep to your schedule the next day. So you keep that momentum going. You will have days where things don't go according to plan, but it doesn't matter. The next day you've got to keep that momentum going. Okay, so some benefits when you actually manage your time. These are the benefits, and I'm sure each and every one of us would like to have these benefits. It increases your productivity and efficiency, so you can tackle more tasks in a shorter period, right? It lowers your stress levels. I've mentioned that before. It betters your work-life balance, so you can balance out your personal life and your professional and academic life. It also allows you to have opportunities. So when you manage your time well, you're more likely to complete your tasks on time. You're more likely to meet or exceed expectations. Let's say you get that a 65% average, for example. This makes you a candidate then for career advancement opportunities, whether it's an internship, whether it's for example, like a student mentorship program, bursaries. If you manage your time right, you achieve your goal, it gives you opportunities. When you manage your time, you actually have more time, more free time to yourself, because you can see where you fit in your personal activities, which means you are then having a more well-rounded, balanced life. It improves your focus. When you have structure, just think about for first-year students that have just come out of school, think about at school, you had structure. You knew which subject is at what time. That structure to your day helps diminish any distractions, and it allows you to focus on the task at hand. And then lastly, it helps with your decision making. It improves your decision making because you're not constantly in a rush. Think about when you're in a rush. When you're in a rush, your brain is all over the place. You are forgetful, and you are more anxious or more stressed out. So here, you manage your time, your decision making is enhanced. You've got more time to consider different decisions and make thoughtful outcomes. So I think each and every one of us wants to have these benefits, and this is just the importance of managing time. So the first step is to track your time. You need to know how you are spending your time. I would suggest starting a time log, like the example on the screen, of just for, it doesn't have to be for a long time. It can just be for a day or 2 days, where you record your daily activities in half-an-hour increments. You then, once you've recorded your activities, let's say after 2 days, you sit down and you look at these activities and you write down the activities you're spending the most time on. And then you also write down the activities you are spending the least time on. And then you start making a decision as to, okay, what do I need to cut down on? What do I need to actually increase the time I spend on? So we have to develop awareness of where you're spending your time. And this is a really great way to actually start developing awareness. Sometimes, a lot of times, we have that experience of we just didn't have enough time to get through everything. This day went so quickly. But that's many times because we're not aware of how much time we spend on different activities. And we'll get into some time wasters later, but we need to start being aware of actually where we are spending our time and what activities are taking the most of our time in order to get to a weekly schedule that works. Okay, step 2. So you are tracking your time now. You are seeing where you're spending the most time. where you're spending the least time, and asking yourself what needs to change. The next step is using a planner. Some people say a master calendar or a monthly calendar. This planner is to indicate, especially for your academic life, to indicate all your deadlines, your assignments, even things like if you have any tutorials, you have any student events, all of this needs to go on your planner. Now, I've put this picture up a lot. Most times we're probably using digital planners at this point, and that's absolutely fine. Right at the end, I'll just talk about some apps that you can Google to see which works best for you. But the important thing is you have to have a planner. You can't develop a weekly schedule if you don't have a master calendar or a master planner. So for now, you need to look at March, you need to look at April, and you need to look at May. And you go on your My Unisa and you check your announcements and you see if anything changes and you update it accordingly. Because this, when we say a master calendar or master planner, this is the tool you're then going to use to schedule your weekly schedule and to prioritize your daily tasks. Okay, so we've tracked our time. We understand what needs to change. You've gotten your master planner. You've put your deadlines, everything that your assignments, everything that you need to actually achieve. So your deliverables. Now we're going to look at developing a weekly schedule. Okay, so it's important in your weekly schedule, you need to have all the days, including the weekends, because the reality is you might not be a full-time student, you might be working as well as studying. So you need to have all the days there. You need to have your times. You can do it hourly or half an hour. It's up to you how you want to do it. So we're going to just look at a case example, right? We're going to look at a weekly planner of a student. Mbali is a first year level accounting student. He takes note of how she normally spends her week. So this is how she would normally spend her week, right? She's spending 17 hours per week on her studies. And Unisa recommends, you will see in your module outlines, you will see that Unisa recommends 6 to 8 hours per week for semester modules and 4 to 6 hours per week for year modules. This, I just want to highlight, is ideal. Okay, we might not always be able to achieve the ideal in terms of the demands you have. Could be work demands or other demands, but we want to get as close to the ideal as possible. So even if it's not 8 hours, trying to get close to 6 hours, okay? She's currently registered for 4 semester modules. So what does that mean if she's registered for 4 semester modules? If we look at maybe, let's take the ideal, the 8 hours, then she should be looking at 32 hours in a week, okay? But she's only really scheduled 17 hours. So this means she's budgeting too little time. Even if we look at the 6 hours instead of the 8 hours, it's 24 hours that she should be budgeting time for her studies. And when we say studies, I don't mean that it's just when you're studying for exams. I mean, you're actually engaging with your module content, okay? That all falls under studying. So you can see in both instances, whether she's using the 6 hour or the 8 hours, there's still too little time being allocated for her modules. So then the important thing is for her to make some decisions. So this is why the time tracking becomes important, because let's say, like Mbali, you already have a weekly schedule, okay? time tracking becomes important because then you can see how many hours have I actually allocated. Am I close to the recommended hours? Remember, these recommended hours are by people who know what's outlined in your module and the amount of content. So they know the workload. That's why there's been a recommendation. Okay. So if you already have a weekly schedule, it's still good to then look at and time track and see, okay, now I need to budget more time for my studies. Where can I shift things? Where am I spending too much time? And then you can make some decisions around that. So Mbali then decides she is going to wake up at 5:30 and spend an hour each morning on her studies. She's going to negotiate help with cooking dinner at least 3 times a week, which means she can get more time there. She's going to minimize watching television, 3 hours during the week, 4 hours over the weekends. This gives her an additional 11 hours per week. She could also consider things like in certain weeks where maybe there's an assignment due, spending less time with friends, which could give her more hours. So it's important to, when you time track, you then see how many hours are recommended, how close are you to those hours, work it out according to how many modules you've actually taken for the semester, and then make the necessary adjustments. Making these adjustments helps her to get closer to the goal of spending at least 32 hours. Remember, those 32 hours are ideal. Even if she got close and she got to 24 hours, she's still closer to the recommended time. So it's really important that you work out based on how many modules you're taking, how many hours are recommended, and then looking at how much time you are actually allocating and seeing where you can allocate more time. So that's your weekly schedule. And I'm just going to point out in terms of your weekly schedule what you need to include. So I'll go back to Mbali's schedule. She's included breakfast, traveling to work, lunch, preparing dinner, and sleep. Okay. So these are some things that are really helpful in terms of what you should be including in your schedule when you draw it up. Sleep is really important because a long-term lack of sleep is almost the equivalent to being intoxicated, which means it affects your concentration. Include your eating, your breakfast, your lunch, your supper. If you're exercising, include your exercise and include your relaxation time. So you saw there Mbali put time with family, watching TV. Those are obviously her relaxation time. So a schedule is not just about when you are going to study. It's not like when you were, for example, at school and you would create a study timetable when it came to exams. That's not what it is. In this context of an open distance learning university, you have to create a schedule that incorporates all the activities that you actually are going to engage in during the day. And then as you saw the time she put there, she blocks out times. That is a time management strategy. It's called time blocking. She blocks those times out. Obviously, she's estimating, or based on what she normally does, she can tell, okay, from this time to this time, I'm normally preparing dinner. Okay. And that's what you do. You start off with just blocking time according to what you are doing, and then you start adjusting. The next thing is you have to have your master calendar. That helps you plan your weekly schedule. What does that mean? It means your weekly schedule is going to shift from week to week based on what your deadlines or assignments might be with your master calendar, or the things that you have to do based on the activities in your master calendar. And then planning a weekly to-do list at the beginning of the week. It's really helpful to have a to-do list because then you can put certain things into your schedule. Each day to create a to-do list and prioritize it. We're going to look at a strategy to prioritize your to-do list. We all know about a to-do list, but it's most effective if we can actually prioritize it. Divide your study sessions in your weekly schedule by the types of activities or modules. So it's not enough to just put study time. It's important to put some detail and go study time for economics and maybe another module, okay? Break down big tasks into smaller manageable tasks so you can break that down across your weekly schedule so that you can complete a task and manage a task. Start with more difficult tasks when you're fresh and when you're focused, and then finish with easier modules when you're a bit more tired. This really helps in terms of you also not procrastinating. Set time for chores. A lot of times chores take up time. So if you can put that in your weekly schedule as well, you can see, okay, how much time does my chores take? Maybe I need to delegate. Can I delegate? Who can help me? And then I would really say an important discipline is rewarding yourself. When you have completed certain things in your weekly schedule or your to-do list or at the end of the week, reward yourself for actually completing that. It really helps in terms of discipline and then sticking to it. So these are just important things that you need to keep in mind when you are putting together your weekly schedule. And then, of course, be flexible. Not every day is the same. We don't perform the same every single day. So on your best day, you might be the most productive, but when it's not your best day or something has thrown you off for that day, you might not be as productive. You might not get through as much as you wanted to get through. So allocate catch-up time. That's why it's really important to also have your Saturday and Sunday included in your weekly schedule. Okay, so now we're going to look at prioritizing. So you know about a to-do list, it's listing your tasks, but we have to prioritize our activities, we have to prioritize our tasks so that we use our time effectively and efficiently. So there is a Eisenhower developed a time management matrix, and we use this matrix as a strategy to prioritize your to-do list, which means you write down your tasks first and then you can prioritize them once you've written them down. So we have to manage our time effectively and to know how to prioritize. We have to distinguish between what is important and what is urgent. These are the two dimensions that we're looking at to be able to prioritize. So things that are urgent and important, it means you must do it now. Do it as soon as possible. Do not delay. Things that are not urgent but are important, you get to decide and you schedule a time to do it. Okay? And then you have things that are urgent but are not important. This you can delegate. And I'll go to examples of that. So who else could do that? Because it's not an important thing, but it's an urgent thing. And then things that are not urgent, not important, but maybe are interesting and fun to do, won't fall in the priority. And then you can eliminate those from your to-do list. So it's very simple. You're looking at urgency and you're looking at what's important. Something that's really nice to do, we're going to go through the to-do list, but when you use this matrix, is to color code it, and this is why I added this to this slide, is you can color code or you can use this numerical system of number 1 is all the tasks that are important and urgent. Number 2 is the tasks that are important but not urgent. Number 3, not important and not urgent. Number 4, urgent but not important. So what you're doing then in your to-do list is you actually then using a system and a strategy to prioritize. And that helps you plan your time. Okay, so an example of tasks that you have to do as soon as possible. Maybe it's picking up your child from school. Maybe it is submitting an application. Things that you can delegate. Maybe it's helping your child with homework. Maybe it's making dinner. In the example with the case study with Mbali and her weekly schedule, she delegated that for 3 days of the week, which means she got some extra time to study. And then things that you can, that are not urgent, but important, that you can decide on is things like maybe a dentist appointment or replying to a particular email that's not urgent. And then things that you need to kind of delete that are not important is maybe replying to a Twitter comment, shopping online, finishing a series. So these are just examples of things that fall under these categories. And just take note of this matrix. It's really a simple strategy to use, but it's a very, very effective strategy. Okay, so when you're prioritizing, I think I've mentioned all of this already. Use a to-do list. You can decide whether you prefer a weekly or a daily to-do list. I really prefer a daily to-do list. I feel like there's too much that happens in the week, but you will know based on your demands and the things that you need to do, what works best for you. Your to-do list is not about listing goals. It's about listing tasks. Remember, because those tasks is what actually goes into your weekly schedule. And then you rank it. So remember the numbering system for that matrix, or you can color code it with maybe highlighters. That also works really well. The goal of your to-do list is not to mark off all the items. Of course, we want to mark off as many as possible. But in a day, the goal is to mark off your highest priority, your most urgent and most important. Prioritized to-do list allows you to set boundaries, so you can say no to activities that may be interesting or something you just feel like doing, but actually are not fitting with your priorities for the week or your goals for the week. So we want to, with prioritizing, we want to tackle high priority tasks also when your energy levels are at your peak. So often the beginning of the day, you want to start off with your high priority tasks. Some people, in terms of starting with priority tasks that may be difficult or overwhelming, may feel like I might want to start off with something that feels easy to do, maybe just replying to some emails, and then you feel like you've ticked something off your to-do list. That is fine, but try to put your important and urgent tasks earlier in the day, or when you have that peak in your energy levels. And then to your low value tasks, or those that are not so urgent and important, it's about learning to set that boundary and saying no to it. Okay, and then we have time wasters. I've only put a few, but I'm sure there are many time wasters. And I've been talking a lot, so I'm going to stop here and I'm going to ask you to also put in the chat. And my colleagues who are manning the chat can just let me know to put in the chat, what do you identify as your main time waster? Let's see what the majority feel that they spend the most time doing. So number one on the list is phone and social media. Okay, time can get wasted scrolling. Before you know, 30 minutes, 40 minutes is gone. So it's really important when you schedule that study time, maybe to put your phone in flight mode, or to even put it off if you can. Flight mode is really helpful because then you don't get those messages. The second one is Netflix, Showmax, etc. Binge watching series. A lot of times when we procrastinate, we end up binge watching a series. So this is something that also kind of gets in the way. Remember, I spoke about a reward when you've achieved something. Sometimes a nice reward, if you've achieved something, at the end of the day, is just watch that one episode that you've been wanting to watch. that can be your reward. So you can be focused on completing a task and reward yourself with your Netflix or your series. Procrastinating, telling yourself you will do it later. Procrastination is one of the biggest time wasters. And I will talk about that on the next slide. Unnecessary browsing and shopping online. A lot of browsing can take a lot of time. Online gaming, socializing, when maybe we need to be concentrating on our studies, and then being disorganized. Disorganization leads to poor time management and it wastes time. So if you don't know where you need to access certain things, you don't know where your exam pad is, you don't know where your pen is, the minute you're sitting down for your study time, you've already wasted 30 minutes. And then that's how disorganization can become your time waster. So if there are some, I don't know if there's some comments in the chat, I just want to hear from you students, what do you identify as your time waster? You can type it in the Q&A or in the chat.
We do have a comment. One of the comments is friends are time wasters.
Okay, absolutely. Yes, go ahead.
The second one says chores and caretaking.
Absolutely, that takes up a lot of time for many people, and that maybe can fall into the top, into, if we look at prioritizing, it could maybe fall into something that is important but not urgent. So maybe delegation could be helpful there, or just some help. It doesn't have to be every day that you delegate your chores. Anything else that people find is a major time waster for them? Okay, I'm going to keep going. You can put it in the chat and we'll still look at it. So procrastinating is one of those time wasters. And let's be honest, we all procrastinate at some point. And we procrastinate for different reasons. It could be, but there's always a reason for procrastination. It could be that the task is overwhelming. It could be that the task is difficult. It could be that it's unpleasant or it's a really long task. So there's two strategies I'm just going to mention today about helping you to stop procrastinating. And the one is, they say, consider eating the big frog first. So there's a quote that says, if it's your job to eat a frog today, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs today, it's best to eat the big frog first. So in terms of tasks we procrastinate, we can categorize them as those big frogs, that thing that we're avoiding, that thing that's unpleasant. And one of the strategies is to complete these tasks early in your day. It helps to get it out of the way. It also helps in terms of your energy levels. You might have more energy at the beginning of the day than at the end of the day, which means it increases your likelihood of not procrastinating again if you start with it early in the day. Another option is snowballing your tasks, so breaking them into smaller segments, which means in your day you complete some tasks that help you prepare for eventually completing the full task. Or let's say what you're procrastinating is lengthy. This is when you can use that snowballing. If it's lengthy, then you can break it up and you can do the tasks that actually prepare you to do the completing. And then again, that reward system is important. If it's something you've procrastinated and you finished it in that day, reward yourself. Rewards do not have to be big. Let me mention that as well. It could be as small as a chocolate. It could be a series. It could be anything that you would really be able to enjoy. Okay, so we've been able to, you've been thinking about your weekly schedule, you've tracked your time, you see what needs to adjust in your weekly schedule, you've done your time blocking of all the important activities that you do during the day. We've then taken a step further to break it down into the tasks in your to-do list. Let's say, I'm just going to say your daily to-do list. We've then prioritized your tasks. So these now are general time management strategies that you can use once you have that in place. Once you have your master calendar, your weekly schedule, your to-do list, and you've prioritized your to-do list. So you have the 2-minute rule. And the 2-minute rule is that if a task can be done in 2 minutes or less, you should do it immediately. So the reason behind this is completing the task right away takes less time than if you have to come back to it later. Have you ever read a WhatsApp message or listened to a voice note and then something else comes up, you go on to do something else and you absolutely forget to reply? So if it takes 2 minutes, do it straight away. Okay, so this principle helps in terms of your minor tasks, preventing them from piling up and becoming overwhelming. So this rule applies to your minor tasks. Then daily planning, this is your to-do list. Start off your day with writing down. Take 10 minutes, write down your to-do list, prioritize it according to your matrix, and therefore you can structure your day and balance your workload so you don't feel overwhelmed and stressed. Then there's 2 main strategies that are employed and have been researched and are effective that people are using. These strategies you will now use again once you have done your weekly schedule and you've blocked out the time for all your activities. So let's say you blocked out your study time of 3 hours in the day or 4 hours in the day. You then can employ this time management strategy. So the first strategy that I'm going to talk about is the Pomodoro technique. It was developed by Francisco Cirillo, and as the name suggests, the technique uses the popular Pomodoro timer. So the timer, this Pomodoro timer, as you can see on the screen, it's a little timer. I don't know if anybody has used a timer in the kitchen. It's a little timer that's in the shape of a tomato, and the technique has come out of this timer. So the technique involves working for 25 minutes, but you can prolong it if you prefer. So you can choose whether you want it to be maybe 30 minutes instead of 25 minutes. You concentrate on a single task, and then you follow that by a 5-minute break. Okay, so you're studying, you can do 25 minutes, 5-minute break, 25 minutes, 5-minute break. So this short interval is referred to as the Pomodoro. Okay, after you've done 4 of these, then you take a longer break. You can take a 15-minute or a 30-minute break. So why this technique is actually helpful is because it helps maintain your focus. It just gives your brain that time to breathe and just stop concentrating on what you were actually doing and also to move on to the next task. And it helps to prevent mental fatigue. So this is why it's helpful. I also just want to suggest that, with time management is not a one size fits all. So what works for you might not work for me. 25 minutes might be too short for me. Maybe I need 30 to 40 minutes before I take that 5-minute break. You need to find, based on you, what works best for you. But this is a technique that you can then apply. And then the next one that I'm going to highlight is the time boxing technique. Many people get confused between the time boxing technique and the time blocking technique. Time blocking is what you did in your weekly schedule, where you blocked out time according to all the activities of your day. Time boxing is a technique that actually helps you improve productivity and makes you more effective. It's based on the logic that if we put a time constraint and a defined goal, it helps us to act faster and with intent. So it's a very simple time management technique. It involves you setting a time frame in your calendar to complete a task. So let's say there is a due date coming up. This is when time boxing becomes helpful. So you are actually booking time with yourself where you give undivided attention to a specific task. And at that time, you are also working towards a result. So for example, in my 4 hours that I've allocated to economics, I'm going to take 2 hours and I need to finish 2 chapters. So then you set that timer for the 2 hours. So this is very different from the Pomodoro technique. You set the time for your 2 hours. Also, be realistic. Do you need 2 hours? Do you need more than 2 hours? That also becomes very important when you are time boxing. So be realistic. If you're setting unrealistic time to get a result or get a task complete, you're going to overwhelm yourself and you're going to be stressed. So you must be realistic. Okay, so then you take that particular time and you set your timer on your phone, for example, and then in that time, you're working towards a specific result or completing a specific task. Okay. Time boxing helps with 3 things. If you are a perfectionist and you tend to drag out a task because you want to do it perfectly, it helps you to set boundaries and constraints so that you can actually start focusing on finishing the task and not be distracted by focusing on the perfection of the task. It also helps with procrastination. So if you're avoiding tasks, setting a time box. So what you can do is, remember I said with the eating the big frog first, if you're doing it earlier on in the day, you can put a time box. A time box helps you get started. Remember, the problem with procrastination is we avoid. So we can say, oh, I'm going to do it in the next 10 minutes. Next 10 minutes, you're distracted by something else. Okay? And then if there is a deadline, so when there are assignments, when you have a specific deadline of submitting something, then time boxing can really help you organize your day or organize your week so that when you set your time box, you actually have accomplished something that may be either the entire task or a specific part of that task that helps you meet your deadline. Okay, so there's 2 types of time boxes that you can use. Again, because we are all different, you decide what works for you. There's your hard time boxes. These are your strict time slots, okay? Set for a particular task where you start and stop at exactly the time that you've set. When you apply this hard time box, the chances are you are going to focus 100% because you only know you have that time. And then you need to finish once your alarm goes off. Okay, so this type of time slots is great for tasks that you find yourself doing to no end. Maybe you've got so many emails and now you are spending too much time on your emails. You're not getting to your other tasks in the day. You don't know where the time has gotten. A hard time box can help. In the morning, I'm setting a time box of 1 hour to reply to all my new emails. Thereafter, I'm going on to do X, Y, and Z. Soft time boxes, these are more flexible time slots. So even though you have a start and a finish, if you find you haven't finished your task, then when the timer goes off, you may stay on the task for maybe another 15 or 20 minutes. Try not to go over that because then that defeats the purpose of having a time box. Okay, so if you're going to do a soft time box, I would suggest have a time limit of how much more time you're going to use to finish it. Soft time boxes work best for people who don't do well under pressure because it's giving you that good structure, but it doesn't increase your stress levels. There are people who work really well under pressure, and then that hard time box would be what you would want to be using. Okay, so you've got to choose. You do not. So with time boxing, you don't apply this to every single task. You apply it to specific tasks that are on your to-do list, that is in your weekly schedule, for example. So these are just some of the tasks that time boxing works really well with. Endless tasks like the emails. So emails are going to come in every single day. So it can feel like an endless task. Things like social media, scrolling on social media, you put a time box for scrolling on social media. Priority tasks, so tasks on your to-do list that are both important and urgent, you can have a time box for that. And then study group sessions. Sometimes study group sessions can go way over time. People can get distracted and ask different questions, and you might find that at the end of that study group, you didn't complete the aim for that particular session. Time boxing for a study group also helps to keep everybody focused. So it's really helpful for specific tasks. It's not something that you would be applying to every single task. And then I implore you to reconsider multitasking. In our busy lives and busy schedules, multitasking has been something that people have deemed as a skill, but actually it's not. So research is showing now that multitasking does not improve your efficiency. It actually negatively affects results. So you don't get the results that you want when you multitask. So you need to eliminate distractions during your study sessions. So remember your time wasters, things like your phone going off. That's why I said flight mode is really good. So what happens to your brain when you are sitting down for your study session and then you get distracted? So let's say a WhatsApp message comes through, a notification on social media, and your phone is maybe not on silent or it lights up next to you. It decreases your focus. The minute your focus gets decreased, then it means that it increases the amount of time you need to learn that material. Have you ever found that when you, let's say you see a notification on your phone, you go and you look at it, and then next minute you're looking at something else. By the time you get back to what you were doing, you have to ask yourself, oh, where was I again? What was I typing? And then actually your efficiency and how much focus you have in terms of your study has diminished. So you need more time. And remember, most times we don't have more time. That's why we're using that schedule. So please consider, that's why we use that with your weekly schedule. We talk about time blocking. It's important because we don't want to multitask. We don't want to do too many tasks at the same time because it actually doesn't increase your efficiency and it doesn't help in terms of getting all your focus and concentration on one particular thing, being able to focus on quality instead of rushing to get something done. And then there are lots of apps. I did not want to recommend apps, but if you Google the top 10 apps for time management for students, it comes up with a list. So there are different categories of apps. You can use time trackers to find out and gain awareness of how you're spending your time. You can use time saver apps. You can use task manager apps, which helps with your prioritizing, and then habit developers. And that helps you just in terms of your general weekly schedule. So I just wanted to give an example so that you can see the nice thing. If you're somebody that prefers digital planners, the nice thing is you can use that matrix that I showed you with prioritizing. You can color code things that are urgent, things that are important. You can have an overview of, you can have your week, and then you can have an overview of your master planner. So if you are this type of person that prefers digital, then I would say try out an app and start using it early in the semester so that you can perfect your time management skills. And then something that's really important just in terms of time management being a self-care strategy so that your weekly schedule is balanced. A morning routine really helps set the tone of your day. It also allows you to be energized. So think about your morning routine and try and make that consistent. What's really helpful, even when you look at your weekly schedule, is try and have a consistent wake up time, a consistent sleep time. This allows you to have a routine that is balanced for your body and your mind. And you can choose what's in your morning routine. Is it exercise? Is it meditation? Is it just waking up earlier so you have alone time before the day starts, before everyone else in the household wakes up? It gives you that time just to prepare for the day's tasks. Once you're done with your morning schedule, then you can do your to-do list. So establishing a productive morning routine can help improve your focus, your well-being, and your performance. I want you to think about the time where you were rushing. You woke up late, or you pushed snooze on your phone, and you pushed snooze again, and then you woke up late, and then you were rushing. Was that day as productive as when you woke up on time? Were you as focused? Did you forget anything? This is the benefits of a morning routine. And then lastly, I'm ending off with we are psychologists and we are registered counselors as student counselors in the counseling and career development unit. So I cannot end this workshop without saying that you have to be kind to yourself and look after your well-being. Your weekly schedule needs to reflect balance between not just your studies and the things that demand your time, but also the things necessary for you to function well and perform well at the tasks that you have. So emphasis is on sticking to a regular routine. If you're changing your routine, so if after this workshop you decide to change your routine, you need to allow your body at least 2 weeks to adjust, especially if you're changing your wake-up time and your sleep time. You need 2 weeks. So that's where that persistence comes in time management. You need to persist with being able to allow your body to adjust. Make sure you get enough sleep. For adults, the minimum amount of sleep you should get is 7 hours, maximum is 9. If you're getting more than 9 hours, you are going to feel tired during the day. It doesn't help with concentration. And then exercise, if you can put some movement in your week, in the weekly schedule, doesn't have to be every day, at least maybe 3 times a week. It really helps with stress. It helps you with a better quality sleep if you struggle with sleep. It also helps with your mood. And if you're sleeping better, your concentration is better. Eating healthy, that helps with concentration and it helps with your mood. And then relaxation. You are a human being. You are not a robot, which means you need to relax. Just with sleep, I want to say, even with sleeping, what happens with sleep is when you've done tasks during the day and when you've had some study time during the day, when you sleep, your brain actually consolidates information. That's why it's also important to sleep, because it helps with your memory. Okay, then I just wanted to share, we have a student mentorship program in the Counselling and Career Development Unit. If you want to, you're a first-year student, and you want to join our, you want to have a mentor, you want to join our group mentoring, then please email us. The next slide, you will see our email address, and then you can get a mentor and be part of our groups. Your mentor is there to support you, encourage you in your academic journey, and guide you. And also be able to refer you to university resources and departments, give you the information you need. Your mentor is somebody who would be in their final year of study or doing their postgrad study, so they've already successfully navigated the Unisa system. Okay, and then these are our contact details. Our services that we offer is free and confidential. You can have an online counseling session with us, a telephonic. You can email us. You can also have an in-person, face-to-face session. We have offices in Durban and PMB. We work from Monday to Friday from 8 to 4. That's our email address. Also, if you want a mentor, please take that email address down. Those are our phone numbers, and then that's the QR code you can use in order to book an online appointment. Okay, so we've come to the end of our workshop. Thank you for your attention and listening to me. And now is the time where you get to ask questions. So please put your questions in the Q&A, and then we will respond to questions that are there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michelle, and thank you so much to our students. Nokmonga and Sane, can you please assist Michelle with the questions on the Q&A? Thank you.
Yes, Ma. While they're still going through the questions, I have a question here from one of the students for Michelle. Michelle, are you ready on your side?
Yes, I am.
Okay, here's the question. How to manage your time when you are a disabled person? Just clarify on that, please.
Okay, so if you are a disabled person, you have to take into account maybe the tools that you're using based on your disability. And for example, let's say those tools take a little bit more time. Maybe it's Braille, maybe it is specific tools on your laptop where you have to listen to modules or listen to module content. That means it might take more time than someone who doesn't have that disability. So you've got to look at how much time it actually takes for you to engage in that tool, and see, and then when you are blocking out time or when you are time boxing, you're mindful of that so that your weekly is reflecting what is realistic for you in terms of that particular task. I don't know if any of my colleagues want to add to that.
No, I think you actually responded very well. I think I'm not too sure where the student is based, but I think he should actually also try to contact Axwit in case he need further assistance, maybe with some of the gadgets that they need to be installed on his or her laptop. We'll just post Axwit email address together with our email address on the chat box for the student.
Okay, thank you so much, Tumelo. Any other
Thank you.
questions?
Sorry. Thank you, Tumelo, for that. We were about to say that if you can share the Oxford contact details. And before we can proceed with the student questions, may I request the student to complete the workshop evaluation that has been posted to the Q&A. Please, we would like to hear from you students as we are busy with the questions. If you can quickly take your 5 minutes, less than that, to complete the workshop survey, we will appreciate. Thank you. Nakonga?
Another question is saying, how many modules should I study a day?
Okay, so I would really say there's two things to consider with that. Number one is working out, remember that recommended time. So let's say you've got 4 modules for the semester or 5 modules for the semester, and you're looking at the recommended time that you should be spending per week per module. So when you are then time blocking, you can look at, let's say your time block is 4 hours or 6 hours. You can then decide, okay, today I'm going to spend 3 hours in economics and I'm going to spend 3 hours on business management. And then as you look at the rest of your week, you can see, okay, how much more time in terms of the recommended time do I need to still spend on that module for that week? And then you can allocate the next 3 hours, for example, for that particular module. So it depends on your time allocation. I'm also going to say that it depends on you personally. Sometimes some people want to concentrate on 2 modules in a day or 1 module in a day. You can break it up based on your preference as well. But the important thing when you're scheduling is trying to look at that recommended time. And when you put in those specific modules during the week, you've got to look at, okay, have I covered or am as close to as possible my recommended time? But it's both balancing the recommended time and really your preference. It might not be helpful. Remember, with multitasking, it might not be helpful to put too many modules in one day. It might be better to have a certain module in a concentrated time and then another module in a concentrated time. So even if you're saying the study time is 4 hours, you can need to break up that time in terms of your modules. Hope that answers the question. Do we have any other questions? I'm looking at the comments that were coming in. It looks like social media, Netflix. It seems like those are the common time wasters. So definitely something you have to be mindful of. Stressing is also a time waster. Absolutely. When you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, that can waste your time as well. Somebody said disorganization. I'm so glad that you were commenting because you're becoming aware of your time wasters, which means you then have to be intentional about minimizing or reducing those time wasters. Do we have any other questions? Anything that was unclear?
Yes, there is a question. The student said, can you please suggest some free apps that are effective to use, because I keep finding ones that require subscriptions and those that don't are not really helpful or don't allow tracking.
Okay. Offhand, I did have a look at them, but offhand, I can't remember them. If you can, but there were particular ones that I did see that are free. If you can pop us the email on our Counselling KZN email address, I can give you a link to that particular article. Okay. Any other questions, students?
Yes, another question is, what is the recommended time for students, for semester students weekly?
Okay, so the recommended time for semester students, I'm going to just go back there for you. So per week for semester modules is 6 to 8 hours. So let's say you've got 5 modules, and let's say you're looking at the minimum of 6 hours. If you take your 5 modules and you times it by 6, you're looking at 30 hours. I just want to emphasize, though, this is an ideal. I would suggest getting as close to the ideal as possible. And obviously, if you're studying full-time, then you must meet that ideal. For those who are studying part-time, try and get as close to it as possible. Any further questions?
No, currently those are the only questions.
Okay. All right. I'm going to hand over back to the program director. Thank you so much, students, for joining us. I really hope that it was helpful. And please start to use some of the strategies that you learned today. Implement it. and be patient and persist. Keep the momentum going in terms of your time management. It's a skill. You will get better at it as you actually engage with the strategies. You will find what works for you. You will be able to personalize it for your situation, and you will find that it will help you to meet your goals. And again, if you're stuck or you find like there's certain things, maybe you try out the techniques and you feel like there's challenges that you are unsure about how to overcome, you are welcome to book a counseling session with us, and we can then help you in terms of if you get stuck with your weekly schedule, or if you find that you just can't pinpoint certain things, or you're not gaining that skill in terms of your time management, you are welcome to book a session with the student counselors. Thank you so much, Program Director.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for such a informative presentation. I hope our student benefited a lot from your session. Can I allow Smonelo Gumede to do the vote of thanks and upcoming event for CCD? Thank you.
Thanks, Program Director. Thanks to you too as well, Michelle, for a very wonderful presentation. I hope students, you will be able to apply these skills that Michelle have shared with you moving forward with your studies. And I wish you all the best while you are preparing for the upcoming exams. A semester is a very short thing. I hope you will apply these skills effectively. I would like to announce that we are going to have this kind of workshops where we equip you to become more ready for your exam when it's exam time. Next week, on Wednesday, we have the upcoming workshop. The title of that workshop, it will be note taking and note making. So it will be on the 20th of March. The link will be shared with you. We're looking forward to meet you there, students. Thanks. MC.
Thank you so much, Gumede. And once again, thank you so much, student, for attending this workshop. See you next week, same time. And I think we forgot something important as well. We are also having, if you look at my screen, we are having tomorrow at 10 o'clock. We are having a workshop, again, summarizing and memorizing. It will be a hybrid event since the face-to-face event will be actually in Richards Bay campus for students who can able to be in Richards Bay campus, of which the Zululand and surrounding area, they can go to campus. The workshop will start exactly at 10 o'clock. The student counselor is there in Richards Bay as we are speaking. And those who are far from that campus, and then they can then catch the workshop online. And the link has been sent as well to your email. Thank you so much. And then we will meet you tomorrow to the summarizing and memorizing workshop in Richards Bay. Thank you, students, and goodbye.